Okay, folks, it's another update video. Um, it's day 106, Monday, the 1st of February, 2021. Got here surprisingly early, about 15, 16, maybe something like that, 15, 16, maybe 17 minutes early. Um, and so I got a bit of time to record a video, and well, last night I got everything set up in its proper place. Got my coffee machine set up so I could just kind of turn it on when I got up and you know, get that coffee brewing, and I had my clothes set up and everything else. So was able to just kind of roll out of bed and get going. It's kind of like who would have known that having everything in its proper place beforehand to minimize the amount of energy I had to put into actually willing myself out of bed, or um, willing myself into getting ready and getting going would, make things, that easy. But, I found over time that just, doing that sort of stuff the night before really makes a difference. Because, when you're waking up, you're warm in bed, and, it's kind of maybe cool, maybe not cold, but, it's that sort of time, maybe it's still dark, like when I have to get up, that, the more effort you got to make to get up and get going makes it just that much harder, that much more likely that you're just not going to get up. And last night, I had a really hard time getting to sleep, which is kind of why maybe it's conditioning, but I'm kind of, you know, sort of, what do you call it? Sort of not confused that I was able to get up so easily, but like, um, it's kind of strange for me to a certain extent. Maybe it's because when I finally did get to sleep, it was kind of like deep sleep, to the point that I had some dreams and such, which I don't really remember the content per se, but the reason I had such a hard time getting to sleep was um, because I talked to my dad earlier that day, and um, sort of like the time that I would have devoted to calling my grandma, I ended up calling my dad, and um, it was just it's kind of difficult. And I'm hoping that I can call my grandma today and that everything's okay. I can just talk to her and sort of make up for not calling her yesterday, which I usually do. I try to make it a point to call her on every Sunday. She's in her 90s, and I don't know how much more time I'll have to be talking to her. And some of the things when I talk to her, it's kind of like getting to talk to someone from that time and get that sort of perspective on things. And it's sort of like, one day we're not going to have those folks around anymore. The folks who lived through the Great Depression and World War II, and, you know, came back and really, like, created sort of the golden age for our country, as Americans, or um, kind of laid the foundation for what the world is nowadays. And I used to have my grandpa on my dad's side around. I could have talked to about his perspective as someone from outside of America, but um, yeah. So anyways, I talked to my dad, and it's just hearing about all the problems that are going on, and hearing the sort of he's literally like physically exhausted, but just even the sort of mental or spiritual exhaustion in his voice, and feeling like he's sort of fading away from this world, and not being able to really do anything about it, because the only options are things that will never ever change, the situation, or ever fix these problems, because these problems really have nothing to do with that's really actionable. It's like certain people in the family who don't want to change their ways, or they made the kind of decisions that are sort of one-off decisions, insofar as like you can't really undo the effects of them. And I could get into the details of that sort of stuff in videos later on if I feel down to it, or if anybody watching this sort of stuff really wants to know. Um, I'll try to keep any sort of super private, super, identifying information, out of those videos. But needless to say, my mom and my sister have, over the last, like, let's say 10 years, made the kinds of decisions that just, they're the kind of decisions that, can end up wrecking your life. And I'm not saying it's 150% like all on them. I had my dumb stuff I did, and there were other folks, from outside the family who pulled all sorts of nasty stuff on us. But at the same time, like, it's at this point where it's just like, it's almost like a bottomless pit. And no matter how much you throw into time, energy, or effort, it's just never going to change. And in part because certain folks, those two in particular, don't want to change their ways, change their habits, start making better decisions, and just sort of adjusting to the reality of the situation. They just keep demanding more and more and more from my dad in particular. And, even back when he wasn't dealing with joblessness and there wasn't this sort of pandemic and all this sort of stuff going on, it was just one thing after the next, and so much of the stuff with them, in my opinion, has been self-inflicted, but they don't want to wake up to that, because as long as they got him or they got me to sort of throw at their problems, they don't have to actually face their problems, take responsibility, face accountability, and actually be expected to do anything that would make a difference. So, this is sort of a problem that I have with a lot of folks out there. In all honesty, I've been there, but I feel like with my upbringing, with my experience of the world, like and this is where you can cross over into quote unquote controversial topics, aka you're saying things that are true, but they're not edifying or flattering to certain folks out there. But my experience of the world and life has been that there would be like a certain point up to which folks just would not tolerate my my nonsense, my garbage, and because they wouldn't tolerate it, I would be forced to go, okay, I need to do something about this. And eventually you go through that enough, you get to a point where you're like, you're even just tired of having to face these consequences. So then you go, okay, what do I gotta do to not be in this kind of situation where I'm having to deal with somebody's anger, frustration, get punished for this or that. Okay, I need to change, and with certain people in my family, those two in particular, it seems that they've always been able to avoid that. And some of it has had to do with the fact that and I used to be like this myself, but um, in particular, let's just say that my dad would be willing to sort of take the heat for them, and still take the heat for them, and so it doesn't really like lead to um, work and effort being done about these problems. So I had that sort of stuff on my mind. Really couldn't sleep all that much at first. I think I fell asleep around like midnight or 1 a.m. or so, but eventually I did get some sleep. But anyways, like I said, it's day 106. Even with all that stuff that I just rattle off about, I'm trying not to dwell on that. I'm just gonna focus on what's in front of me, and any sorts of overflow, so to speak, from last week I'll have to contend with, and whatever my responsibilities are for this week I'll have to handle. And minimize the number of excuses folks have for being frustrated or angry with me at work, and just get my work done, get through this week, make that money. This is the second week of this pay period, so I get through this and it's okay, I got another paycheck coming. If I get through or if when whatever, get through to the end of next week, when the next paycheck gets sent out, then okay, I'll have the half of that pay period done, and I'm sort of taking that perspective on things. But anyway, it's been a long enough video, and I'm gonna head in now. So see you folks around. Thanks for watching, and see you next video. Bye bye.